This episode is presented to you by NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. With NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV, you can watch your favorite teams' out-of-market Sunday games, plus watch up to 4 games at once with Multiview. Don't miss the race to the playoffs. NFL Sunday Ticket is now just $39 when bundled with YouTube TV, where you get even more football. Visit youtube.com/Spotify offer to sign up now. Lowest price on YouTube TV with base plan. Rest of 2023 season. Terms and embargoes apply. No cancellations.
Reboot your credit card with Apple Card, the credit card created by Apple. It gives you unlimited daily cash back that you can now choose to grow in a high-yield savings account that's built right into the Wallet app. Apply for Apple Card now in the Wallet app on iPhone and start growing your daily cash with savings today. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility requirements. Savings accounts provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC. Terms apply.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Columbia Sportswear. It's snowing again, and that wind chill is killer. But you're not worried about that because you shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection. It's warmth perfected with tiny gold dots that reflect your body heat inside and protect you from the cold outside. No snow or chilly temps can stop you now. Go out anyway. Shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection now at Columbia.com/infinity.
Welcome back to Keeping Current with Kansas City. The usual two, Daniel Sperry from the KC Star and other places, which you do not need to elaborate so much on this time, and Thad Bell from the Blue Testament. Mr. Sperry is way out in LA today, so it's been a little struggle to get our timing correct, but we're together, and we're going to talk about the current and last game, injury, next game. I guess we just start with the last game. What do you think, man?
Man, that's the type of playoff win that sometimes when it's just not quite going your way, you need moments like that. I think obviously the offense lost a little bit when Claire came out. I just don't think it's a jarring thing to have that happen on the field. I think you can see this if you watch the NFL, if you watch other soccer around the world, when players go off with big injuries like that, it really shocks a team. And the problem with the hard part there for the Current is all they had really was a hydration break to kind of shock themselves back into it. There was no halftime, no opportunity for them to go to the locker room, take a deep breath, collect. They still really had to go right back out into the middle of it. And so kind of lost their way there in the second half. But to force the turnover in the way they did, and Loera so high up the field, and the give and go with Lavogez was fantastic. The pass from Lavogez is not getting enough credit. I mean, a little no-look flick around the corner of the defender. Loera put the ball right where she needed to. Kate Alfava in the right spot at the right time. She was the one who made that trailing run. I don't know if the ball gets to anyone else beyond her there. So she's the one who made the run, smacked it home, and got her first career goal. And it's really, we can talk a lot about the injury in this podcast. It's going to have a good amount to do with what goes on Sunday in Seattle. But I am impressed with the way that this team just finds a way to make things happen. It was not pretty. You look at the passing map, it wasn't great. The passing percentage was really low. Maybe a little bit of nerves, maybe a little bit of what Houston was doing. That's the first time they've played against Houston's 4-3-3. That head coach was not the head coach in the previous 4 matchups between the Kansas City Current and the Houston Dash. So that is a wrinkle that gets thrown into things, and you're facing a coach and a tactician that comes from out of the league that you haven't known. Things you kind of learn a few things about them in that setup. So I thought they did really well to get the result. I don't think the result was pretty, but this is a team that many times this year has found a way to win ugly games and found a way to win pretty games. And I think that's the mark of a pretty darn good team, right?
Absolutely. There's a lot of teams out there who would like to win dirty, ugly, and all that stuff. Casey wants to win any way they can. Sometimes it's pretty, sometimes it's overwhelming offense, sometimes it's, oh my God, how did they find a way to score that goal? I do think you're right, going back to the comment that Lowe may not be getting enough credit for that pass, but I'm just going to call that the Lolo connection from now on.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I like that. Lolo. Yeah. Just keep it. It's not going to stay on the Lolo, that's for sure. All right.
But I think Loera doesn't necessarily get enough credit for what she did. It wasn't her best game in that spot. She had some better games earlier in the year when she was filling in for Dez. I think we've all been Loera fans because how well she's played at every spot she's done, and being a rookie, a little bit older rookie because of the extra COVID year in college, but still a rookie.
Yeah.
Yes. And kind of trying to run through all the comments you made. Yes, Houston is a very different team right now. And I don't know that I've ever seen a league have so many teams that are completely different at the end of the year than what they were at the beginning of the year. I mean, you get teams in MLS that are very different from the beginning to the end, with a couple players added or something like that. But I think like 10 out of 12 NWSL teams are not anything like they were at the beginning of the year, just between player ads, trades, coaches fired, added, whatever.
Yeah.
It's hard to like go back and look at the past to mean anything about the future right now.
Especially in that instance, for sure.
Lavogez, again, we've both been fans of her to, what she's brought to the team, the attacking mindset, the, some creativity. She's
flair. She's got flair.
Yeah. She's kind of like Pickett, except with more offensive ability and flair. I mean, you put it well there. So that she may not be the perfect prototypical 10 or whatever you want to call it, because she's been in both sides of the field. I like her better in the middle, but in the midfield, but they don't have anybody that's going to be exactly like her. Even if they could bring Pickett back, that's not going to be anything like her. How do you think is going to make that? How do you think you would, if it was up to you? Let's go with that first. What do you think you would do?
That's a hard thing. They could change formation if they wanted to. I don't know that I would do that just because of the way this team's set up. We're really kind of changing the numbers in certain places. Do you want to go to a back four against a team like Lorraine that are firepower all over the place? I don't know if I want to do that. So if it was up to me, if for some reason Matt Potter was not the head coach and it was me with my lack of, my FIFA tactics here, I genuinely think that there's two things you could do. CC Kaiser can drop to the midfield and take Lavogez's spot, and you put on Elise Bennett up top. That's one that doesn't change a ton of personnel, changes a different look, adds a very different player for the Reign to have to deal with. We see at the moment she gets on the field every time just how physically imposing Bennett is, but she really is like not afraid to take people on the dribble. We've seen her take people on the dribble on the right hand side of the field and drive right at goal. It's not CC Kaiser's best spot where she's at her best at times in doing that either. She can get lost in this midfield the way it's set up. But the other option to me would be to keep the back three the way it was with Addison Merrick, keep Desi Scott and Alex Ware in the midfield, and play Lola Bonta as the 10. I think there's a bit of some fun flair we've seen from Lo. Granted, she does a lot of work in ball progression and going back and forth there, but I think we've seen Alex has a decent ability in ball progression in that final third and the play that she made in the end.
Yep.
She's a very good defensive presence. It would be a much higher position on the field for her to maybe take Lowe's spot in the midfield in that role. but I think that's a lot of continuity. I do think Labonta this year has definitely shown that she has a little bit of flair to her, but she has that there's the engine about her, and like her drive to get things going, that I think could really suit that number 10 role, because she's constantly looking when she gets on the ball, she's constantly looking for where to go with it next. It's and it she takes a touch, she looks up, she finds where she needs to go with the ball, and she goes, whether it's her dribbling it there, whether it's her passing to a player that's open. And I think in a game like this against the Reign, you've got to be decisive. You can't have somebody who hasn't been out there, making these decisions, that hasn't been out there making these decisions, in this role. And that would be my fix for it. But I don't know. What say you, Mr. Tactician Thad Bell?
Actually, I'm probably going to go very much along that same line. If you have a midfield three of Desi, Lowe, and Loera, it's basically almost like a Sporting 6 and 2/8 with the way Sporting plays a lot, which when you're on the road against a high powered team, you need people who are going to do the dirty work in the midfield and then take care of your opportunities when you get them. So you're going to need somebody like, you're going to need CC up top. You're going to need Hammy up top. You're going to need Mace making those overlapping runs to create stuff. And I wouldn't start Bennett, because if you start Bennett, you really have no impact player to bring off the bench if somebody goes down. So now if Bennett was on the field and Hammy pulled a hamstring, now you don't have somebody to come in and replace her. So now you're scrambling to fill in another way of looking at things, which they've done really well this year, changing up things throughout the game, less so towards the end of the year. But you have other options in the midfield. You have Addie McCain, who played some in early on, who hasn't seen much time lately. Chardonnay Cran, who comes in a lot of times in that role and does well, at least in the keeping things from getting worse. And she's actually contributed to a couple of the goals that I don't know if she got an assist now. I don't want to say that, but she contributed to the events leading up to goals, coming back a couple of times, because I've got a couple of great pictures of her celebrating, because it's jumping into the pile is awesome. One we didn't really mention is Chloe Lagarzo, who at least got a little time with Australia lately, but has played 0 minutes for Kansas City.
Yeah,
I think that would be really dark horse.
Be a dark horse. Those three, because I'm in LA, I got to talk with Coach a little bit early on Wednesday. I didn't have full idea of what was going on with the injury, but and obviously I think we all could have seen that she was going to be out regardless for this match, based on how that injury went. And those were the three names that he brought up. I'm interested to see this is just another idea here. Is that Izzy Rodriguez has been pretty good as a left wing back. She's a natural left footer. She's got incredible service off that side and is pretty creative getting forward. Does he throw Haley Mace forward, like he does at times when they're trailing and he needs to get there and say, Haley, you're going to be much further forward today. Have fun, go at it, get the ball, go at goal, dish, and use your speed to eliminate defenders one-on-one. And that's another wrinkle that I think could be thrown in there. Do I believe he's going to do that? I don't know. I'm not in there, but sometimes coaches like to throw out a bunch of opportunities and keep the one that they really want to use hidden. And that was one that he didn't mention. So I'm curious to see how he would do that. I do think Mace's 1v1 defending, especially against an attack like that, is going to be really useful along the back line. So I'd be really shocked to see that. But I'm just throwing out another one into the thought bubble here.
And like I said earlier throughout the year, they've been pretty good about, changing up the formation as they bring in a different player, as the game state changes. They've been pretty good about it. I think they've been less good about it at the end of the season. But if I was him, I would actually have about 7 formations drawn up with who's playing where, and literally would start the game yelling number 2 and have them change formation just to mess with the Reign. and because I don't think Laura Harvey is as good a in-game tactician as she is a get them prepared tactician. From my having watched her in the old days, that she may have greatly improved.
Mm-hmm.
But back when I was closely watching the NWSL when FC Kansas City was here, which there is that history with Kansas City and Laura Harvey too. This is her third time winning the Shield as a coach, and has never won the championship.
Because they've faced Kansas City
twice,
those other 2 times,
2014 and 2015, and
mm-hmm.
Both of those was a loss to FC Kansas City, coached by Vlatko Andonovski.
Yep. We wrote an article about that one, about that matchup and just the history behind it, as a fun teaser for people, for those who maybe have tuned in now to the Kansas City Current, maybe don't understand the history behind it. I certainly wasn't. I mean, I knew FCKC won titles, but I wasn't that tuned into it. So when I was looking at some of the background in all these matchups, I was this is a little, oh, okay, this is kind of fun here. So I think that history is going to kind of be a fun added storyline to everything that's going to be going on in what's going to be a very massive game on Sunday.
Whichever way that goes.
Yeah.
And so looking at the Current as they are today, as they are currently, they are not as deep as a lot of other teams. They have a lot of good players. I won't even say their starting 11, normal starting 11 is as deep as a lot of these other teams that they routinely play well or beat. But they have just done it in such a way that, the teamwork, the never say die attitude, all of that, and you have different heroes coming up every other week. Kate DeFalva, I mean, I talked to her a couple of weeks before that, and because she was kind of like an unsung hero, and all of a sudden she comes up with the big goal, and her first professional goal. And if you had like a dark horse, like somebody who's going to come out of nowhere and score a goal and to win this game, who would it be?
That's a hard one.
This episode is brought to you by Google Pixel, the official fan phone of the NBA and WNBA. The new Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro are built different. How? Take the Audio Magic Eraser tool. It helps block out distracting crowd noise so your play-by-play commentary sounds crystal clear. The only phone engineered by Google brings out the audio you care about so your videos sound as crisp as they look. Learn more at googlestore.com/pixelnba. Audio Magic Eraser requires Google Photos app. May not work on all audio elements.
Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Can I?
No, you can't stall because we only have a couple days.
Okay, can I go with 80 French? No, I'm just kidding. That'd be a real dark horse. How about Desi Scott getting a goal? She hasn't scored yet this year. I'm sure the red card probably weighed on her a little bit in dealing with the moment. Could she have missed an opportunity to play in the postseason like that? As she's at the later stages of her career, that probably aided her a little bit. And Sunday provides a little opportunity for her to maybe get some redemption a little bit. So I'll go with Desi Scott. If you're giving me a dark horse, who the heck is going to show up and score the goal in this one for the Current? Maybe I'll go with Desi Scott.
I'll go with whoever plays on the back line that isn't normally there. Addison Merrick,
Addison Merrick,
Izzy Rodriguez, whoever it is.
Somebody like that.
With one of the storylines going into the game against Houston was that neither team really had a lot of playoff experience. I mean, you had a few players here and there. Hammy was the healthiest, most experienced playoff player for the Current. The Houston only had a couple also. Now that Kansas City has some of those nerves out of the way, they have that experience in front of a big crowd, hostile. It wasn't the friendly kumbaya crowd. It was definitely more hostile, and Rain has been sitting back doing nothing.
Mhm.
I mean, I know they've been training, they're a talented team, but now is that going to play into it in some way, you think?
It might, but at the same time, you've got a coach that's been through it a lot. You've got players like Megan Rapinoe who have played in the largest moments, period, in the sport. And I think there's a lot of players on that team too who are very, very good players and have experienced some pretty large matches in Europe as well. So I would say I wouldn't surprise me that maybe do the Current come out really hard in that first 10-15 minutes and shock the Rain a little bit. I could see that happening. Um, I feel like the Rain are a team though that maybe I wouldn't. There's too much experience, I think, with them, that I feel kind of negates that. You trust teams that have high level experience to know that, when the lights turn on the brightest, it's time to go. And they can get themselves up for that moment every single time. And I think the Rain have a lot of those players who have been in that situation. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the Current start off a little hot. However, I would be shocked if it shocked the Rain so hard that they didn't turn into who we expected them to be.
No, and I don't really truly mean it that way, but I would actually almost think it's the other way, that the Rain will come out super hard to begin with. And if the Current withstand that, then the momentum shifts a little bit. I expect the
Yeah.
Rain to outshoot Kansas City 2-1, maybe 3-1. But a lot of them be blocked. A lot of them, go wide, go high, be saved by AD. And then Kansas City, if they're on, they will score 1 out of every 3 chances, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even though they're not super clinical, when they're on, they score. But I just want to look back to last year, for example. The 2 teams that had a bye was OL Reign and Portland Thorns. Portland was the Shield winner last year. Both of them lost to lower seeds coming into their houses and beating them. Washington, who was the ultimate winner, and Chicago, both came in and beat those teams that had that bye.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can happen. Welcome to the NWSL, where that parity makes that difference between, even if you look at the end of the season table, the Current were 4 points behind the Rain. I mean, goal differential might tell some different stories. But I mean, that's a tight table, man. And those are teams that are very close to each other.
And just having that playoff game under your belt and the never die attitude sort of thing may make it easier to overcome them. I don't know. And I know we said earlier that we can't really look back at how the teams were, because they're such different teams, but both games this season against the Rain were 1-0 games. Current in Seattle, in I think May, they were missing a lot of players because of COVID. Potter wasn't there because of COVID. They were outshot 18-3 or something like that, and they lost 1-0. Here in Kansas City, again, they were not. I don't think they were full complement because of
the Current were only missing at that point. I had the lineup from that match set up here. The Current were without Scott, but the Rain were the ones that were a little shorthanded with all the players out with the U.S. Women's National Team at the CONCACAF W Championships too.
And they had a fairly even amount of shots. I think the Rain still outshot them, maybe by 1 or 2, but it was pretty even.
The Rain outshot them. Let's see, it was 19-17.
Yeah.
They had the Current still had more shots on target. And this is the interesting one in that match, though, was that the expected goals. If you look at that game, the Current's chances that they had in that game, it was I think the expected score line might have been, from expected goals, was 3-0, which is insane, because that means you had a ton of chances. A lot of teams will end up outscoring their expected goal mark when they convert their chances like that. So that is that was a pretty dominant match for the Current at home, especially from the 30th minute on. They got the water break. They made a quick tactical switch, and the Current just throttled the Rain for the rest of the match.
I think in that game also Kansas City scored fairly early, like 18th,
Yeah,
20th minute.
18th minute. There was a penalty too. Was the
Yeah,
only goal. So they had tons of chances from the run of play, but the penalty was the one that they actually converted.
which is it kind of made me laugh a little bit. I was listening to somebody else break down the game, and they said the Reign are far too experienced to give up penalties like all these other teams do against Kansas City. And I'm like, maybe we should look at the last game. But again, it wasn't their normal defenders, so
Yes,
they
it's
did have
okay.
a valid point in that. But it was still kind of a little funny comment to myself. All right, what else we need to talk about today, man? I know you got to get to LA. I mean, you're in LA. You got to get to doing stuff, have some
Yeah,
fun, do some work.
I don't know, man. I think this is another I feel like every single game for the last couple of weeks has been all right. This is the biggest game in the club's history, and again, we're at the point where
It
this
is.
is the biggest. This is the biggest game in the club's history, once again. So, it's going to be a fun match. You got to tune in on CBS Sports. Don't worry, the Chiefs are going to be losing to the 49ers later in the day anyway. So just turn on that game and save yourselves from watching Christian McCaffrey run all over your Kansas City Chiefs defense, and enjoy watching the Kansas
This is the
City
wrong
Current.
pod, dude.
I know. It's not the wrong. It's the right audience. Maybe you have too many people who are going to be paying attention to the Chiefs. Keep it on the Current.
Yeah. Going
It's
back to you
massive.
saying about the biggest game and all that, it was kind of funny because I was thinking like the biggest goal scored in Kansas City Current history has now been scored by Kate Del Fava.
Yeah,
who has one goal.
it's that goal.
It's it is like, it is history setting, and I don't know if they realize it as much as like some of us sitting outside of it look at it as, we got to have a different perspective. Like, I have that FC Kansas City history, but
Mhm.
in my mind, it's one franchise or one club.
Yeah.
But in NWSL minds, it's a completely different club. So it has new records, new firsts, new all that. So that's why I'll very carefully say the Kansas City Currents first this or first that,
Yes.
not Kansas City's first.
Yes.
Because I still want to campaign for them getting the 2 stars from FC Kansas City. But
They kind of have it mixed into the crest.
yeah, that's bullshit. I mean, I've criticized other teams for having stars in their crest because that's bullshit, because they're trying to like claim glory that they didn't have. If this is not the FC Kansas City, then they don't get 2 stars in their crest. If it is FC Kansas City, then they get 2 stars above their crest. That's the way it works. So I want to campaign for that. All right, let's see. The only other one thing I really just want to touch on real quick is U17 women's national team just lost in the World Cup on penalties to Nigeria. And again, there was kind of a bogus VAR call that did you get a chance to see any of it?
I have not seen any of it. So
Nigeria was awarded
it's
a
your
penalty
soapbox now.
kick for a foul that happened outside the box. The ball was outside the box. The Nigerian player was outside the box, had just come out of the box. And a US player fighting for the ball. So the ball was like kind of on the line, but not inside the box. Maybe because it was inside the box and it wasn't fully out. I don't know. But it just seemed a little bogus. But that ended their run, which they've never done well at the U17 World Cup anyway. So
they have not.
Any last words?
Do we want to do predictions, or are we running away from that?
Weren't we both right last time?
We both right last time.
Yeah.
I think we might have both said 2-1 too. So
yeah, I think we were. I think we did. I don't really pay that much attention to what I say about predictions because I know how bullshit they are. But it's still kind of fun to like do it once.
I don't write them down.
No,
I don't write them down.
Soccer so turns on one good call, one bad call, one fluke bounce. It's like, but since you brought it up, what is your prediction?
Okay, I'll say this game goes to penalties. I can't decide the winner. I think it's going to be an even game. It's going to be a long game.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if it did that either. Both keepers are so good, and I've actually been very impressed with the Reigns keeper.
Valentine's Joyce.
Yeah. I was trying to like decide if I wanted to say her name because I knew I was going to screw it up, but no, I was very impressed with her all year. Both of them were worthy candidates for keeper of the year. By the way, did you vote for the NWSL awards?
I did, and MLS awards, but this isn't an MLS podcast, so I don't get to rant about that. I did vote for the NWSL awards.
Yeah,
I think we'll see how it goes.
Hey, I will admit I voted for Potter and I voted for AD. So
I did as well.
Potter was very well deserved. I think AD was more competitive, but I just let the Homer side of me take over on that vote. So, all right, I don't want to copy you, but I will mirror what you said and go to penalties. And again, it'll be like the 8th penalty taken, and that'll be the Izzy Rodriguez goal or something like that. So, what do you think?
All right, we'll go with that.
If I get that right, man, you owe me a drink.
Okay.
Iced tea, so it's really cool.
And iced tea, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for joining me from LA. I will get this posted as soon as possible, and everybody keep current with keeping current. Yeah, I got to come up with a good out phrase, but I can worry that more in a couple of weeks when the season will be over. We can like work on our future plans.
Have our good outros and intros.
Yep. Thanks everybody for listening, and let us know what you think.